इन लॉज में क्या प्रॉब्लम है. सो आई थिंक मैं डॉक्टर सुपिंदर को बोलूंगी कि वो पहले मैम आप स्टार्ट कीजिए एक क्वेश्चन के साथ टू काउंटर जो दीपिका का पर्सपेक्टिव है कि ये लॉ नहीं होने चाहिए, एंड देन आई जस्ट कम एंड आस्क द क्वेश्चन क्योंकि ऑडियंस में बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन आने लग गए हैं.
So once again, good evening, everyone. See, everyone has a perspective, and we must respect the perspective and opinions of everyone on the issues, such issues when they are directly related to law and society, actually. And if I straightway come to the point, to the discussion of the day, that is a marital rape should be, covered by a law or not. So my answer is yes, there must be a law on marital rape. I'm strongly in favor of enactment of a law on marital rape. Reasons are many. Every day we are going through so many data, so many things, so many stories, so many views, opinions of the public coming on this perspective that there should not be. But the reason assigned for not having this law is somehow seems to be relevant, but it can be cured as well, because every disease have both the perspectives. Medicinal bhi hoti hai, recovering bhi hoti hai. So recovering laws can be there, I think, in this very case, because marital rape is one of the acts which has been ignored since long. See, a rape is a rape. I was reading one of the articles yesterday. Very beautifully it was written that a rape is a rape, but despite the identity, despite the age. And when we talk about rape, otherwise, not marital rape, a victim of rape is always having a dark memory of that act in her mind, every kind of a rape. And when it is by her husband, she has to say with him, that seems to be a worst of the thing of her life. So just because not having this only one reason, there are so many other reasons as well, what I need to quote. See, though it is a marital life, though it is a private zone, it is a bedroom where you cannot have check-ins, you cannot check who was wrong, who was right. That is entirely, I agree that is impossible to locate into, but there are many other sources as well which can actually show you that yes, it was a forced act, it was without will, it was without consent, and all those ingredients which we used to discuss in our classrooms, in legal classrooms, in law sections, that if section this clause is not fulfilled, this clause is not fulfilled, it amounts to rape. All these against will, against consent, under intoxication, under misconception, under age, all these clauses together are making a law which is not only be restricted just because a woman is married and unmarried. A law must be equally, applicable. When we talk about equality in law, Article 14, 15, we talk about since long the Constitution has been enacted. See, equality is for equals, and every woman is equal. I think why we are taking her at a different place when she's married. Rather, when she is married, there is every kind of a burden, social and legal, which is coming upon her to protect her right. Why there's a need to protect her? Because she has always been treated as a very weaker, a marginalized section of the society. That's why laws has been enacted. Nowadays, that places is equal. The last when the election campaign in Punjab has been started, very funny messages started coming up, because every policy, every benefit was there by every this group of politicians for the female, for the girl child. Boys एक जगह पे बैठे बात कर रहे हैं कि यार इतने पॉलिसीज, इतने फेवर वुमेन को, गर्ल चाइल्ड को मिल रहे हैं, अब कहीं अभी भ्रूण हत्या के नाम पे लड़कों को मारना न शुरू कर दे. See, this kind of propaganda is there to protect her. Equality should be there. When it comes to worst kind of cruelty which is committed against her, everyone is silent. Who is that everyone? Lawmakers. Who is that everyone? Even judiciary. Who is that everyone? The existing personal laws. I'm wondering to know that not in any personal law rape has been made as an independent clause for divorce. Not even in Special Marriage Act 1954, the rape is included as a ground of divorce. In all over the world, India is one of the 36 countries where it has not been criminalized yet. Legislation ने अपना पल्ला झाड़ लिया है, जुडिशरी ने अपना पल्ला झाड़ लिया है. Recently, Delhi High Court ने कहा कि सेंटर को डायरेक्शन दे रखी है, come with something concrete on this. It is just a पल्ला झाड़ना. Right. They are not intending to make a law on this. And
Right.
high courts,
Right.
respective high courts had, very conflicting opinions are coming with high courts. If I give example of August 2021, Chhattisgarh High Court की मैं example देते हैं, where it has been held by the High Court that sexual intercourse or any sexual act by a husband with his spouse would not constitute rape, even if it was forcible or against the consent of a legally wedded wife. And in a same month, two judges bench of Kerala High Court, they upheld the judgment of family court and said that this marital rape should be allowed to be a ground of divorce because it constitutes some physical and mental cruelty of highest gravity.
Right. So I
Just
think
an alternative
right.
alternative remedy has been given.
Right. So,
Alternative remedy has been given. It is a convenience base just to avoid to make changes in the existing law, which has been suggested long back in 2013 by JS committee report. When other amendments came, when the sexual offense chapter has been newly included, नया chapter include कर दिया कि जो भी offenses हैं, sexual nature offenses हैं, उनके against punishment shall be strict. Then why the recommendation of Justice Verma
right.
committee are
So
not
I think
appropriately
मैम
linked here?
आपका जो पॉइंट है वो है कि या दिस इज डेफिनेटली रिक्वायर्ड और सबने पल्ले झाड़ दिए हैं. सो लेट्स हियर व्हाट दीपिका हैज टू से एंड काउंटर इट. एक बार इनका पर्सपेक्टिव.
I just want to add one point over here that when we talk about forcible, act, that it is against her consent. Being she has given her consent in marriage, so it is presumed that she's a better half. She is consenting in every time whenever husband desires to have that act with her. Admittable. But what about when the woman is suffering from those menstruation circle and she's saying no, just because she's suffering something. And in those times, she has been forced or she has been under the influence of violence even, asked to perform the activity of sex. Isn't not against her dignity, against her privacy?
Right.
Even there are instances, we had gone through many projects where the women came up with a very surprising thing. They said that जब भी हमारे periods due होते हैं, husbands ना दवाइयाँ ढूंढ लाते हैं just to postpone it कि मेरा weekend खराब हो जाएगा, मेरी छुट्टियाँ खराब हो जाएंगी. Isn't that act a cruel one? She should not be given a right to say no.
Right.
And that no can be given to her as a right only when there is a law.
Right.
Misuse of law can not always be given as a justification to it. Law is required, I think.
राइट दीपिका. सो डॉक्टर सुपिंदर का स्टैंड काफी क्लियर है कि बहुत सारे उन्होंने जजमेंट कोट करे हैं. शी डेफिनेटली थिंक्स कि लॉ की जरूरत है. तो मुझे बहुत सारे कमेंट्स आ रहे हैं वो आर लाइक ओके हम दूसरा साइड भी एक बारी सुने कि वो क्या कहती हैं. सो दीपिका, व्हाट्स योर काउंटर टू दैट?
Thank you for having me on this debate, Mehak, and thank you for doing an interview with me on this issue earlier, which I have been told that became very controversial and popular as well. But that's how the nature of the work that I do, because somehow equality has restricted itself to talking only about women, at least when I look at things from my country point of view, especially legal. But nonetheless, so before I give in my submissions to this debate, the first thing that I want to share with all the audience is, अभी एक हफ्ते पहले दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने एक केस क्वॉश किया. They stopped the criminal proceedings at the behest of request by two parties, which included the wife side and which included the husband side. Interestingly, in this case, the woman had alleged rape, unnatural sex, dowry demand, domestic violence, all kinds of section that she could have applied on the husband and his entire family for subjecting her to sexual violence, physical violence, whatever. Why was the Delhi High Court quashing this complaint? Because she took 65 lakhs to compromise. All right. Now, the first question that comes to my mind, if we are talking about pain, if we are talking about dignity, if we are talking about lifelong consequences of a heinous offense like rape, then I would beg to differ that 65 lakhs can do away all of that, right? And that now makes me come to the whole issue of marital debate. First of all, of course, the The obvious conclusion that we can draw from this Delhi High Court case is, and the judge obviously said that, it has become a tendency to now rope in male relatives of a husband's family in sexual accusations in matrimonial disputes, which is a fact which I will give different data on during the debate. But let's come to the main discussion. The argument is a woman is same. Unmarried, married. No, a married woman is not similar to an unmarried woman because marriage has an implied consent. Conjugal relationship is a right granted by the law within a marriage to both a man and a woman. How is an unmarried woman different from a married woman? An unmarried woman does not have the right to immediately claim maintenance, immediately claim property by the only clause of being in relationship with a man, whereas marriage gives various financial, personal rights to a woman who is married from the day of her marriage. So to say that there is no distinction between a married woman and an unmarried woman, I personally do not think that is the right thing to say. Ma'am said burden of proof. It would be the same like in other cases over here. I've been working on a documentary on false rape accusations for the last 3 years. I've completed it, about to release and finding an OTT platform. There are tons of cases in which CCTV cameras have proved that the accusation was false. There are tons of cases in which a woman's reaction after she claims she has been raped and she was happily walking along with the man walking out of the hotel, which put a doubt in the mind of the judges whether the prosecution is telling the right thing or not. There are many circumstantial evidences that can be taken notice of in cases where there is a rape by a stranger or a person who is not the husband, vis-a-vis a situation here where, while the statement of a woman will be only ground to first file a criminal case against the husband, get him arrested, get him behind bars. She can, since 2013 amendments, it's not even mandatory for a woman to undergo medical tests, so she can refuse. I don't know of many things that a husband will be able to present forth to the court to prove his innocence. And let me also draw your attention and all of your audience's attention to the kind of rape cases that we are seeing today. We are seeing rape cases today. Just yesterday, there's a man in South India who is a director who has moved anticipatory bail application. A woman has come around and said that he raped her 10 years ago when she went to him for a job. This man is one of the major witnesses in actor Dilip's case, who is himself facing allegations of sexual harassment. This man claims he's not even seen this woman, and this case has been foisted against him because he was a witness in Dilip's case, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that there are allegations that are coming today in rape charges where the alleged rape happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Apart from that, there are also rape cases that are happening today where the woman, after being in relationship with a man for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, there are cases where the relationship has been for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And shockingly, there was a case where a woman said that a man was raping her on pretext of marriage for 31 years. Right now, we have seen for the last 3 decades how 498A allegations have been concocted. The law has been abused. It's not my say. It's the statement of the Supreme Court of India, the High Courts of India, the Law Commission of India, and so on and so forth. In 498A, whether it's a 2-month marriage or it's a 20-year marriage, in fact, there was a recent case where a 78-year-old man was accused of dowry demand. After 32 years of marriage, there was a man who was accused of dowry demand. So when allegations can be made of this kind after so many years, what ground would a husband actually be given to prove himself innocent? My third point, ma'am talked about equality. We are in 2022. 498A, which criminalizes marital cruelty of physical or emotional kinds and mental cruelty also, does not give right to a husband to claim that or punish a woman for being mentally cruel. all that he can do is file for divorce. Domestic Violence Act, which came in 2005, the feminists who drafted it never thought that men also need protection against domestic violence. And there are thousands and thousands of men who are granted divorce on grounds of cruelty, where courts agree they have been subjected to emotional and physical cruelty. But the only recourse that is given to them is a divorce. But here we have law 498A, we have 377. Okay, I'll come to the existing laws later. So when we talk about equality, let's talk equality in real sense. None of our gender-based violence acts are there which recognize men as victims as well. They recognize only women as victims. And I would hesitate to speak too much on false accusations, because I think everyone is seeing what's happening around. Now, ma'am said that, various high courts have different perspectives on marital rape. Well, I just wish to share that, first of all, Delhi High Court is itself the most powerful force behind getting this provision or getting this appeal or getting this PIL to its natural end. Although that's a different question, that they had been sitting themselves for 6 years on this, but in the last 1 month, they have held hearings every single day. I've been in the legal space for the last 10 years. I've not seen a single PIL being heard like that, the way marital rape PIL is being heard. So definitely there is some force behind all their hearings and all whatever they are stating, and they are obviously debating the things from both the sides. Now, Kerala granted divorce on marital rape, which obviously tells you in no more words that there is recourse. Not just a woman moving the court to have a divorce on this ground, but also, Mehak, there's 377, which criminalizes unnatural sex, which has already made way into matrimonial disputes since 2014, when Supreme Court granted some kind of safety to a husband from immediate arrest. A separated woman and a separated, now they say there is, why should a married woman not be able to, file a rape case? Marriage is implied consent. You do not want to consent. You withdraw your consent. You separate yourself. And the law is very clear on that, that if you're separated and not essentially by a decree, but you have declared that you are not, you have withdrawn your consent, a separated woman can also file a rape case against her husband. Recently, there is a woman from Chandigarh who has filed a rape case in this section against her husband. Although I would not like to get too much into the story, but apparently the dispute was there and all the litigation was going on between the husband and the wife. And on the day of settlement, when they were to meet for compromise, the woman says that on that day itself, when they were meeting for a compromise, this man forced himself upon her, and hence he has been booked for 376. Let's wait for what will happen to the case eventually, but I have my own reservations about the case, and I think I don't need to put that reservation in too many words. Now we talk about all countries having, these laws. Let's not forget how these countries operate, all right? If we are giving their example. These countries have very, very strong mechanisms against false allegations. They don't work around like India does, where for 30 years, 498A has been abused left, right, and in center. And I would like to ask ma'am if she knows of one case where the woman was jailed for filing a false 498A. One, I'm asking for just one, where she was jailed. Right? She was arrested and she was put behind bars, or she was convicted. I don't know of any. I would really like to know if there are even 100 examples like that in India, where I know there are lakhs and lakhs of families that have been destroyed completely because of false 498A cases. These countries have very thorough investigative mechanisms. People say India is rape capital of the world. Very easy to say that. Anybody can open Google and look at the statistics of UK and US on how many rape accusations they even admit. They dismiss the cases where they think that there is no evidence to prove the rape charge. Whereas in India, a police officer can be thrown behind bars if he refuses to register an FIR against a person if the allegation of rape is made. I'm just going to complete my initial arguments. Ma'am said, it is heightened form of cruelty. There is no doubt about it. Is for sexual violence okay? Absolutely not okay. Do we not have any provisions against it? No, we do have provisions against it. And last but not the least, can everything be put on the similar pendulum and then apply the same logics in every situation? I don't think so. Marriage is a very separate institution. It brings in on both the spouses a lot of responsibilities, a lot of obligations. It ties up two people in a lot of social, milieu, or in a lot of social conditions which do not exist in a non-marriage kind of situation.
Right.
My humble submission is it's not a black and white. There's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
And if you're not looking at these grays, then I think you're just very oblivious or non-accepting that men deserve to be to have their human rights too.
Right. So I mean, thank you. Deepika, I mean, Dr. Supinder is obviously going to, take the debate forward. But I remember I was in one of her hearings in High Court, and a very prominent judge is there. तो यही question पूछा गया था कि lady ने almost 10 साल के बाद divorce case file किया था. तो 498 AD था उसके अंदर. तो जो husband था, उनका जो lawyer थे, वो यही बोल रहे थे कि 10 साल तक ये क्या करती रही, इंतजार करती रही, मतलब 10 साल तक कुछ नहीं हो रहा था और suddenly हो गया. So I remember what the judge said, like, that resonates with me a lot, that a lot of time, women एक ऐसे system में grow up होती हैं, to stand up for a divorce is not easy, because उनको इतना ज़्यादा ingrain किया होता है कि शादी is, the end of everything, कि भैया वो एक ऐसा system है कि निभाना है. So it takes some years. कईयों के साथ abuse इतना हो रहा होता है कि they need some extra support, और वो support उनको कब मिली, किसने आके उनको push करा, कि अच्छा अब वो 10 साल के बाद मिला उसको कोई ऐसा support करने वाला कि okay, why you in this mess, let's do it. कई लोग फाइनेंशियल इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं होती हैं औरतें. सो आई थिंक लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स वो जो टाइम पास हो जाता है उसकी बहुत वेरियड रीजंस हैं. बट या एज यू सेड देयर इज ग्रे, सो डेफिनेटली ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट इज नॉट द राइट अप्रोच. But this is one of the reasons that I saw being quoted by the High Court judge, and that really did resonate with me. So yeah, that was just the point I wanted to make. But Dr. Supinder, a lot of points made by Deepika, so I know you really eager to talk.
So let me reply. I'll try to reply one by one on each and every point. Reason being, see, if we go by any law, anything which has been given by the legislatures to the society for their needs, see, every law has a pros and cons. I do agree with you. If we see, we have to look into both the sides of the coin. This is the other side of coin which you are highlighting, which is really appreciable. There's so much data is there. Even I am aware of that. I'm fully aware of that. But when I talk about law, when I talk about women, very first point you have raised, that where that pain goes when she accept 65 lakhs rupees, and many such cases are there, and vanished, that pain has been vanished the moment she got that money in her account. See, and on that pretext also you said that there is a clear classification in a married and an unmarried woman. Both the points I'm clubbing together here. Number one, there is a difference, but something on different version. If I talk about when in 2005 the right to property in ancestral share has been given to a daughter, a woman, law said there is no as such any discrimination in a daughter who is married and unmarried. Both had been preferred equally, despite the fact there was a large hue and cry that married women are taking double benefit. They had been married on their marriage also. Money had been spent. They had been given many things before this law came. And this property is now going to be used by their husbands as well, who are out of this co-partnership. But by differing with all these arguments, the women, the daughter was treated equally. Here, if I try to apply this statement here in this very case, when we talk about a woman, very clearly see in case of Puttoswamy, the right to privacy, the case, it is known as a protection of privacy case in our law. There it has been very clearly said by Supreme Court that right to abstain from sexual activity for all women, irrespective of their marital status, as a fundamental right conferred upon her by Article 21 of the Constitution. Therefore, forced sexual cohabitation is a violative of fundamental right to life and personal liberty. Along with that, one more argument comes here, that marriage, as you said, when you are giving consent to the marriage, it is implied consent to have cohabitation whenever, wherever, by whom it has been desired. No. With humble submission, I disagree on that, because marriage is not a license given to the man to have fulfill his desire, because there is one more science, comes into a discussion that the male has more sexual desire. No, equal desires are there on the part of the female as well. We cannot admit to it, but that is not going to give him a license that anytime, every time, whenever she says no because of certain reasons, the reasons which can cause her some repercussions, when we look into studies, Mehak, you will agree to it that there are many adverse and long-term consequences on women because of the forced sexual act. No, those influences, those impacts are not only on the mind and health of the woman, but also the children who are born after that. I was indulged in one of the research projects in Punjab University with Dr. Rajesh Gill, sociologist. Now, we have a gender audit. We went to a village in Haryana. There, a female, she was estimately 73, 75 years old, and she was having 8 kids. Now, we were talking to her on cruelty only. Now, but she was a bit upset. After a minute, she was getting up and she was sitting down. तो हमने उससे पूछा कि बीजी कोई प्रॉब्लम है? वो कहते कि जब मेरा वो 5वां 6वां बच्चा हुआ ना, तो उस टाइम पे दाई ने बड़ा फोर्सफुली वो डिलीवरी हुई and uterus came out. It was 6th child. She said, so 6th child, and after that 2 kids are more. Then we asked कि आपने ट्रीटमेंट नहीं लिया? कहती नहीं, तो पैसे नहीं थे. हस्बैंड कहता क्या तेरे पे पैसे खर्च करेंगे, अब कौन से हमें और बच्चे चाहिए. After that even there are 2 kids. So what she was suffering from, every time when was it going to pass urine, उसको हाथ से यूट्रस को इंसर्ट करना पड़ता था. Every time it was coming out. Then we said कि अब तो बच्चे बड़े हो गए, आपने ट्रीटमेंट ले लेना था. We said कि अब बच्चे कहते हैं कि अब तो बुढ़ी हो गई है, अब पैसे खर्चवा के कहाँ जाओगे. See, ये भी इंसिडेंसीज हैं. एंड अब देखो लॉन्ग टर्म रिपरकशंस और क्या है. मेंटल ट्रॉमा तो है ही है. दिस इज मेंटल ट्रॉमा व्हिच कैन नॉट बी go away with any of the compensation. Point comes to the compensation, as Deepika raised कि इसमें marital women and unmarried women में क्या फर्क है कि उसको compensation maintenances नहीं मिलते. There is a provision of compensation. जो rape victims हैं, unmarried even, there is a provision of compensation. Even on the amount of compensation, those women are satisfied. There is a provision of arbitration. जब long term cases खिंच जाते हैं.
Ma'am, that's not a compensation by a rapist. I'm sorry. Don't misunderstand me. That's not a compensation by the rapist. That's a compensation by the state. That's a compensation that the government gives. And if the man is if the man, ma'am, you have to understand the difference between 2 cases. Ma'am, if a person is convicted, then the court can order the rapist also to give compensation. But वहाँ पे compensation देके compromise नहीं होता है. मैं quash की बात कर रही हूँ. आप कहाँ लेके जा रहे हैं इसको? मैं quash की बात कर रही हूँ. आप एक मैट्रिमोनियल डिस्प्यूट में फादर इन लॉ के ऊपर, ब्रदर इन लॉ के ऊपर रेप का एलिगेशन लगा रहे हो और फिर उसके बाद 65 लाख लेकर उस मैटर को कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर रहे हो. पहली बात तो कॉम्प्रोमाइज इस तरह से रेप में होते ही नहीं है. वही तो मैं बोल रही हूँ.
Let we focus on marital rape. Now the need of the hour is whether to make law on marital rape or not. 498 is much discussed. If it is misused, then High Court की direction है, Supreme Court की directions है. Now there is no arrest without warrant in 498 cases. Now there is.
Ma'am, the number of people arrested in 498 in 2020 are 1,56,000. अगर सिर्फ दिल्ली और सिटीज में अरेस्ट नहीं हो रहा है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि अरेस्ट नहीं हो रहा है.
दीपिका जी, डायरेक्शंस आ चुकी हैं एपेक्स कोर्ट की भी, हाई कोर्ट की भी, कि जब 498A का केस रजिस्टर करवाती है फीमेल, पहले था कि बिना सर्च के, बिना किसी इन्वेस्टिगेशन के अरेस्ट था अगेंस्ट हस्बैंड एंड द रिलेटिव्स ऑफ द हस्बैंड. नाउ द डायरेक्शंस हैड बीन कमिंग अप since 2016 कि आप बिना वारंट के अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकते. सेकेंडली, नाउ द क्रिमिनल लॉ अमेंडमेंट्स आर कमिंग अप विद द सजेशन दैट व्हेन द FIR हैज बीन फाइल्ड बाय द वाइफ अगेंस्ट द हस्बैंड एंड द रिलेटिव्स.
थैंक यू सुपिंदर मैम, खुद इन चीजों को बताने के लिए. थैंक यू सो मच मैम, खुद इन चीजों को बताने के लिए. ये चीजें इसलिए हुई क्योंकि 498 का मिसयूज किया औरतों ने, लेफ्ट राइट एंड सेंटर, और मैरिटल रेप का लॉ आएगा तो इससे भी ज्यादा बुरा मिसयूज होगा. यही बात हो रही है. और 498A का लॉ डाइल्यूट हो गया तो जो नीडी है उनको भी अब प्रोटेक्शन नहीं मिल रही है. तो हम लोग मतलब लॉ पे लॉ लेकर आते जाएं और जो लोग इसको मिसयूज करते हैं उसके खिलाफ कुछ बोले नहीं.
Every day many laws are coming up. अगर आप टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करते हो, it has been much misused. बंद कर दी या लॉ बनाने बंद कर दिए? साइबर
मैम आप मुझे एक टेक्नोलॉजी का केस बता दो, एक टेक्नोलॉजी का केस बता दो जिसमें 15 फैमिली मेंबर्स अरेस्ट होते हैं या 15 फैमिली मेंबर्स क्रिमिनली बुक्ड होते हैं। एक लॉ बता दो, एक लॉ बता दो जिसमें इन द लॉ, आप टेक्नोलॉजी का कोई भी एक लॉ बता दो जिसमें सिर्फ एक स्टेटमेंट की वजह से माँ बाप, भाई बहन, बहन का पति, पति की भाई की पत्नी, उसके बाद चाचा मामा मामी, कि कौन सा लॉ है मैम, कौन सा लॉ है जिसमें सारी दुनिया।
बता दीजिए दीपिका जी, आप कोई भी एक फैमिली बता दीजिए, मैरिड फैमिली, जिसमें छोटे से लेके बड़े टाइप की क्रूरलिटी कमिट नहीं होती। रिसेंटली इन 2020 जब ये कोविड,
मैम ये वो लोग हैं, इतने सारे लोग हैं जहाँ पे वो बेचारी उस बेचारे कभी उस औरत के साथ एक शेल्टर के अंदर रहे भी नहीं है।
No, let me make my point clear. Let me make my point clear. If you talk about किस लॉ में 15 लोग फैमिली के ऐसे हो जाते हैं। One of our student, Hina Gupta, in 2020, a brilliant judicial aspirant, she got married, single child वो भी थी, husband भी single child, IRS officer in Delhi. He was demanding dowry. He, his mother, his father, they were demanding dowry from her. She committed suicide. She was the only kid. And after that fact came into...
पिछले एक हफ्ते में 10 आदमी सुसाइड कर चुके हैं, आर्मी जवान सुसाइड कर चुका है अपनी बीवी को परेशान होके। 3 सुसाइड वो आ चुकी है आदमी के सुसाइड करने के, क्योंकि अपनी वाइफ से
फीमेल भी कर रही है मैरिटल रेप।
तो मैम उनके लिए तो इतने सारे लॉ आ गए ना, उनके लिए तो इतने सारे लॉ आ गए ना। आदमियों के लिए प्रोटेक्शन कब आएगी? आदमी के लिए प्रोटेक्शन कब आएगी? आप ये बताइए मैम। आदमी को आप एक प्रोविजन लाना चाह रहे हैं जिसमें औरत की एक स्टेटमेंट से वो रेपिस्ट हो जाएगा। आपको एक केस बताती हूँ, आप अपने स्टूडेंट का केस बता रही है, मैं आपको बताती हूँ। 3 बच्चियों का बाप दिल्ली में 20 दिन तिहाड़ में सर्दियों में सड़ा। क्यों? क्योंकि उसकी भाभी जो कि 15 साल पहले घर छोड़ के जा चुकी है, 15 साल से केसेस चल रहे हैं, 2 बार 498 की है, 2 बार डीवी का केस लगाया, लेकिन जनवरी 2022 में जाके कहती है कि मेरे ब्रदर इन लॉ ने 15 साल पहले मेरा रेप किया था। एंड व्हाट हैपेंस? दैट मैन इज इमीडिएटली पुट बिहाइंड बार्स। आप कैसे प्रोटेक्ट करेंगी मैम? कैसे प्रोटेक्ट करेंगी मैम? ये तो ब्रदर इन लॉ की बात हो रही है। हस्बैंड तो फिर कुछ है ही नहीं, ये तो ब्रदर इन लॉ की बात है। जब पुलिस एक ब्रदर इन लॉ के ऊपर और इतनी सारी बैकग्राउंड होते हुए रत्ती भर भी इन्वेस्टिगेशन नहीं करता है, क्यों? क्योंकि रेप का ऑफेंस है। तो फिर एक हस्बैंड के ऊपर जब चार्ज लगेगा तब तो अंधाधुंध फेंको किसी को भी जेल में। क्यों मैम? ऐसा क्यों मैम?
अभी लॉ बना नहीं, वी आर डिस्कसिंग ऑन द लॉ कि लॉ अब जब इतनी हम रिपरकशंस उसकी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, जब लॉ बनेगा, वो क्लॉज या सेक्शन बनेगा, तो डोंट यू थिंक लेजिस्लेचर इज सफिशिएंट और एफिशिएंट इनफ टू मेक दैट?
No ma'am, they are just no, I don't think you know what is happening in no ma'am, what is happening then I don't think then you are following what's happening in Delhi High Court, but because the only thing that is happening right now is ma'am Delhi High Court exception remove कर रहा है।
Example of one of the cities in the country.
अरे मैम
double please let me complete. India
मैम Delhi High Court exception remove कर रहा है। अगर उन्होंने exception remove कर दिया तो लॉ आ गया।
Okay,
मैम वो okay महक, I need to make this point clear, all right? Supreme Court decriminalized section 497 of the Indian Penal Code, okay? Because they struck it down, okay? So what the discussion that is happening in the Delhi High Court is of the same nature. They are saying that this exception that exists in 375 is against the constitutional rights or fundamental rights of a woman. यहाँ पे कोई डिस्कशन और डिबेट नहीं होगा कि हम क्लॉजेस क्या लाएंगे प्रोटेक्शन के लिए। यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक एक्सेप्शन रिमूव हो जाएगी, कॉलिंग इट अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल, और उसके बाद 376 हस्बैंड के ऊपर भी लग सकेगा। ये पार्लियामेंट से लॉ नहीं बन के आ रहा है, ये दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने एक्सेप्शन रिमूव करी है। और दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट यही मैम आप एक बार आर्ग्यूमेंट जो दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में हो रहे हैं उनको तो फॉलो कीजिए मैम।
It is, oh please ma'am, it is not fully deleted. मैं कह रही हूँ कि अगर इतनी discussions हो रही हैं, उसको remove करने की बात हो रही है, it would not be simply removed. That's why these discussions have been done. Some alternatives, some other clauses, sub clauses, explanations, exceptions must be added. There is a vast discussion. Recently only this NCW in collaboration with Department of Laws last week, 12th of February, they again had a discussion of 30 panelists. There were Supreme Court judges, there were jurists, there were legal luminaries who were discussing that how, when, how much, it can be removed, it can be kept. You know, every pros and cons is taking into account just to compensate both the sides. Being it is not denied that men is not suffering. When I teach family law with cases of cruelty, there are number of cases of cruelty which has been filed by the husbands against the wife. I do admit women is also cruel. There is a feminine criminality jurisprudence is also there. They're also putting behind the bars. I do admit it. I'm talking about that whenever there is a need, we can't ignore. See, you're talking about that one brother-in-law is there. There are many bhabis, there are many sisters, there are many mothers, there are many chachis, tais who had been since generations are, exploited on the name of marriage, on the name of, these relationships. आप एंशियंट में आप देख रहे हो किस फैमिली में सेक्सुअल अब्यूज नहीं है अगेंस्ट एनी ऑफ द वुमेन. इवन डॉटर्स आर नॉट स्पेयर्ड, granddaughters are not spared by the grandfathers. Where the girl child is safe, where the woman is safe, nowhere. There are many of the cases of spouse swapping. She is not only worstly treated by the husbands but also by the friends of the husband. We cannot ignore that set of society as well. See,
ma'am, we are also living in a society. We're also living in a society where the women have a very consensually sex with somebody else apart from her husband, right? They're into affairs, and just to there are, ma'am, बहुत सारे ऐसे cases भी हैं जहाँ पे औरत किसी और के साथ अफेयर में होती है लेकिन हस्बैंड को बलि का बकरा बना देती है, उसके ऊपर हजारों केसेस करके और अपने बॉयफ्रेंड के साथ एंजॉय करती है. आप डाइकोटमी की बात कर रहे हैं, आप डिफरेंस इन लॉज की बात कर रहे हैं, तो मैं आपको बताती हूँ कि जहां एक हाई कोर्ट ये बोलती है कि हस्बैंड का अफेयर था इसलिए उसको 6 महीने की जेल में डाल दो, वहीं पे एक हाई कोर्ट बोलती है कि एक औरत का राइट है अपने लवर के साथ रहने का. तो मैम चीजें तो दोनों साइड पे है मैम. चीजें तो दोनों साइड पे है मैम. बात इतनी सी है कि इक्वालिटी के नाम पे आप डिस्क्रिमिनेट नहीं कर सकते. और बात ये है कि आज से पहले तो आदमियों के बारे में कोई सुनता ही नहीं था. एटलीस्ट कम से कम कुछ लोग हैं जो आदमियों की भी आवाज थोड़ा सा आगे लेकर आ रहे हैं और हमारे लॉज में लेजिटिमेट इंटरवीन कर रहे हैं.
We live in the families where there are both males and females living in. Both kinds of kids are, getting the bringing up. The kind of the bringing up we are giving to this gender, from there only the gender discrimination is coming up. के लड़के हैं तो कुछ भी करेंगे, लड़कियों के आजादी के नाम पे restrictions लगेंगी ही लगेंगी. वो सोसाइटी भी है हमारी, मल्टीपल स्ट्रक्चर में रहते हैं हम.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Remember that movie Pardesh, long back, Shahrukh Khan and all. वो जी हरियाणा से वो लड़की उसको साथ भेज देते हैं अमेरिका में रहने के लिए. And when he is trying to intimate with her, she said no, मेरे तो संस्कार हैं. So on the name of the संस्कार culture, many things are acceptable. बहुत से देखोगे एक फैमिली में सिर्फ एक लड़की की शादी करते थे. The female used to be exploited by all the 4 brothers so that उनकी प्रॉपर्टी डिवाइड हो. ये भी कल्चर हमने देखा है, अभी भी है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल एब्सोल्युटली होता है मैम.
एग्जांपल दोगे बिहार यूपी में मैरिजेस मीन्स वायलेंस. उनका एक बड़ा आई एम सॉरी इफ आई विल बी सीमिंग टू बी ऑफेंसिव, मैं वर्ड यूज करती हूँ, मैंने बड़ी जगह पे पढ़ा, हम रिसर्च करते हैं कि वहां पे मैरिटल सेक्स मीन्स पलंग तोड़ सेक्स. द वुमेन हैड बीन बीटन, brutal violence had been committed against her, then sexual relation is made with her. UP Bihar, not only in rural but also in urban. We should not ignore all these facts as well. I do agree with you that even men, somebody is there to raise voice for men because they are also suffering. बड़े innocent men हैं जो behind bars हैं just because of these laws. Laws are misused. See, हम लोग तो वैसे इंडियन जो हैं बड़े हम लोग शातिर दिमाग हैं. एक चीज आप दे दो उसमें से कोई ना कोई टोटका ढूंढी निकालते हैं. कोविड के हमें ये डबल वैक्सीनेशन के सर्टिफिकेट बनाने शुरू कर दिए आर्टिफिशियल. लगाए नहीं, वैक्सीनेशन लगाने नहीं है जी, उनको डुप्लीकेसी में वो भी मिल रहे हैं. तो हमारे पास तो बड़े सारे
मैम फिर आप खुद ही बोल रहे हो ना, आप खुद ही बोल रहे हो ना, तो फिर इंडिया के लॉज जो है इंडिया को देख के ही बनाने चाहिए ना. आप बोल रहे हो कि सारी कंट्रीज में ये हुआ है. अरे जब आप सारी कंट्रीज में ये हुआ देख रहे हैं तो फिर आप ये भी देखो ना सारी कंट्रीज में बाकी चीजें क्या होती हैं. मैम इंडिया के अकॉर्डिंग ही फिर लॉ बनाओ ना.
बात करोगे सेक्शन 375 वाज इंसर्टेड इन आईपीसी इन 1860 बाय द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट. उनका अपना एक वो जो डॉक्ट्राइन है कि
वो तो हमारी इंडियन पीनल कोड पूरी की पूरी 1860 में आई थी. हमारी तो पूरी इंडियन पीनल कोड ही ब्रिटिशर्स ने बनाई हुई है.
सी आई एम फोकसिंग अपॉन मैरिटल रेप. हम एक चीज पर डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, हम दूसरों चीजों की जस्टिफिकेशन दे रहे हैं कि वो मिसयूज है, वो मिसयूज है, वो अब्यूज्ड है. तो ये भी होगा, डेफिनेटली होगा. आई डोंट डिनाई दिस फैक्ट, but that doesn't mean just because of the fear of it would be misused, it shall not be enacted as a law, being female is suffering a lot.
मैम सुपिंदर मैम, मैं आज ये बोलती हूँ, बहुत सारे लोग मुझे एंटी वुमेन बोल देते हैं क्योंकि मैं आदमियों की पक्ष में बोलती हूँ, लेकिन मैं ना एक और
बोलते हैं
कोई नहीं, मैं एक बात बोल रही हूँ आपको, आप खुद ही ये समझते होंगे मेरे ख्याल से, कहीं ना कहीं आप लोग ये समझने से दूरी रख रहे हैं, पता नहीं वो इंटेंशनल है कि अनइंटेंशनल है, बट आप लोग जो बोल रहे हैं वो भी बिल्कुल बात सही है, लेकिन बात ये है कि हम लोग औरतों के राइट्स के लिए बात करें बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है, लेकिन हम सही औरतों के राइट्स के लिए बात करें ये उससे भी ज्यादा जरूरी है। क्यों? 498A जब 1983 में आया था, इतना भयावह उस टाइम पे केसेस होते थे, और हम लोग पता नहीं कितनी सारी केसेस हुए हैं, वो ब्राइड बर्निंग के और चूल्हा वाला वो बहुत पॉपुलर हो गया था उस टाइम पे। तब उस टाइम पे एक लॉ लाया गया, अच्छी इंटेंशन से लाया गया, एक प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए लाया गया। उस प्रॉब्लम का तो आज तक सोल्यूशन हुआ नहीं। 2022 में हम बैठे हैं, अभी एक और लॉ लाने की हम लोग तवज्जो कर रहे हैं जहां पे हमारे पास इतना ज्यादा एविडेंसेस है। मैं आपको बताती हूँ, महक, जस्ट 2 days बिफोर the Haryana police has initiated or asked all the commissioner of police across the state to gather the data on women who are trapping men in honey trap cases, who are filing serial false rape accusations. If I may actually share, because I'm very proud of having done this work, I got a female arrested, just a 21-year-old girl who had filed 8 rape cases against 8 different boys of only in the age gap of 20 to 23 within just 1 year. She kept on filing these cases, unabashed, confident. She has voice recordings, threatening everybody. She got 2 police officers, suspended. One needs to actually sit down and dissect this case ki ho kya raha tha. But unfortunately, our media never makes these cases, bring these cases to limelight or have a prime time discussion. There was so much of lapse by the cops. There was so much of lapse in investigation. 3 of the men, one of them spent 9 months in jail, another one spent 4 months in jail, and the third one, I think, is still in jail. That's how bad things are, right? I got her arrested, and then 3 days back, there was another woman who was arrested in Rohtak. She was accepting 8 lakh rupees after filing a rape case. So, and these cases are happening all across Haryana. Haryana, which is considered to be the most regressive for women, which is considered to be the most patriarchal state, there are thousands of cases of this which are coming, and the Commissioner of Police has ordered that. Rajasthan Police has on record told the Rajasthan High Court, when it asked to give them statistics on rape cases, on record, 43% of the rape cases that they receive are false. Now tell me, the kind of effort, and while I say this, I must also tell that there was a case, I think in Orissa, if I'm not wrong, where a woman said that she was gang raped by 2 people. For 2 days, thousands of police officers checked thousands of CCTV footages to get justice to that female until it was realized that she had concocted a story. Every rape case requires efforts by the cops, efforts by investigation officers, investigation by the medical officers. And while I would say there are a lot of people who are patriarchal and who deny justice to women, I would largely like to believe that most people, even in authorities, until unless they are bribed and corruption is everywhere, people do tend to, feel for women. And if a woman has been, violated, I've seen a lot of people do want to put in all the efforts they can to get justice to this kind of a female, this female who has come to them seeking justice. But these cases are doing so much of disservice to the entire society, and biggest disservice to women who are genuine victims. Today, women like me and, hundreds of women like me are standing up and talking about this. This is not because we do not want justice for women. We want justice to reach to every single woman of India. But at the same time, we also want that women who abuse laws and who think that just because of being women, they'll get away, because they actually get away, that needs to change. That's also about equality. अभी इस वाले केस में अगर मान लो कोई लड़का दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट वाले केस में रेप करके और ये बोलता कि मैं इसको 65 लाख रुपए दे दूंगा, कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर लो, हेडलाइंस होती वो अक्रॉस इंडिया that a rapist is trying to give money to a woman. But here, a woman took 65 lakhs, went to the court and said, I am happy with the compromise. Just quash the FIR. Nobody wants to talk about it. And you're saying that women do take a lot of years to come out and talk about it. Yes, absolutely. It's not easy to, everybody is not strong. They take years to process the trauma. I know so many men who continue living in absolute abusive marriages because बच्चे हैं, because society क्या कहेगी, because laws उनके against है. जो genuine victims females हैं, वो भी ऐसी हजारों लाखों होंगी जो suffer करती रहती हैं. But we need to differentiate. We need to have investigative mechanisms that are proper. If there are so many voices that are coming out today saying that they have been victims of injustice because of the legal process, then something needs to be done about that as well. Because otherwise तो फिर सब कुछ चलता हो जाएगा. अभी 498 चलता हो गया, अभी डाउरी डिमांड का किसी को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अरे 498 का केस, इसमें तो क्या ही होगा. सोसाइटी और अथॉरिटीज का भी वो पर्सपेक्टिव बन गया है. The other day I was with
on 498A as well. The things are in discussion on marital rape as well. If we talk about data, Mehak, yes please. If we talk about data, even UN population.
And you know, it's a vicious.
This is an industry. Lawmaking is also industry. Right. See, if this section is to be removed,
because we just have 10 minutes.
Just one statement.
What I'm saying is
one statement.
Concluding remarks कर दीजिए, sum up करने के लिए, because इसके बाद हमारा time खत्म हो रहा है. तो यहाँ पर
as Deepika said, the legal process has to be taken into account before we indulge into any kind of making of any of the new laws. In reference to that only, when we talk about these amendments and removal of the section, many discussions, Law Commission has already submitted its report. Many legal institutions, many social institutions, NCW and other agencies are looking upon this mechanism to get through CRPC as well. As you said, investigation process must be streamlined. See, if it is opted to omit section 375 clause, this exception 2, along with that, there shall be certainly certain amendments in criminal procedure code as well to look into this legal processing in order to protect the men as well, because 498A is already an experience with us. It's a bad experience with us which has been misused. Just to avoid the misuse, CRPC will also be taken into account. Evidence law shall also be taken into account. And when we talk about data and all, this UN Population Fund, they had recently given a data that the married women in India in between the age of 15 to 49, they have been beaten, raped and forced to provide sex, and they are more than 2/3 of the married women. So data जब हम बात करते हैं, data के areas restricted होते हैं, data के motives restricted होते हैं, but naturally objective is conveyed. So by taking into account all those objectives, the legislature must take a totality of circumstances and considering points. Only then this marital rape, yes, I do in favor that this law must come and exception must be removed. I'm still in this favor because the men is suffering, but women is suffering since centuries. Right. I can't deny that.
So Dr. Supinder's point of view is very clear. We need a law. She acknowledges that men are suffering, but she's also saying that there could be means and ways to figure out that how men really do not suffer and the victims who really deserve justice do get it. And from my perspective, trauma is real. I have seen women. I'm a psychologist also by profession, so trauma is real. जिंदगियां खत्म हो जाती हैं, पर हम वो trauma नहीं खत्म कर पाते हैं. Unfortunately, India is a patriarchal setup, but that does not mean कि जो दूसरी साइड है हम उसको इग्नोर कर दें. सिक्के के दो पहलू हैं, दोनों को देखने की जरूरत है. But unfortunately, right now data यही बोलता है कि many more women are being victimized. But that does not mean कि because many more women are being victimized, तो एक आदमियों को हम victim बनने दें क्योंकि बहुत और औरतों का हो रहा है. So that's not justified. And just coming down to your point, Deepika, about compensation. I know compensation cannot ever be alternate to the trauma, to the suffering. So you question a lot about the compensation. Compensation gives you a lot of things, Deepika. Compensation gives you a sense of satisfaction. That
No, Mehak, Mehak, you're misunderstanding me. You're misunderstanding me. Wait a minute. If a person is proven to be guilty, take away his entire property. I have no problem with that. Should be done. Absolutely done. But my point is being misunderstood here. I'm talking about the extortion. This is not compensation. This is extortion. That you, now in this case where the brother-in-law was accused of rape, you know why that happened? Because the woman was demanding 1 crore and the husband refused to give her 1 crore. And that's why she went and filed the rape case. I'm not talking about compensation. I'm talking about extortion. And the reason that I brought that example in case is because this is exactly what will happen. You file a rape case and then you bargain. And the bargaining amount right now in 498A cases is anywhere from 35 lakhs to several crores in houses and whatnot. Just a few days back, I was talking to a friend of mine, in fact, who has been in a very abusive relationship and she's separated. She's fighting litigation with her husband. And she told me about a woman who lives in her society. 2 months of marriage took 80 lakh rupees and an entire flat worth 2.5 crores by slapping 498A and all of this. The situation if 376 does away with marital rape is pati ke upar rape ka charge lagao, implicate all his family members in abetment to rape case, all of them goes behind bars in 376. Now you can demand as much as you want. And this is not happening only this is happening in rape cases also. This is happening in rape cases also. So we can't encourage that kind of extortion through laws. That's why Supreme Court called 498 illegal terrorism in 2005, right? Because you're terrorizing people through laws.
And when women suffers because of this dowry, because of these customs, she is doubly, deprived. She pays, dowry भी देती है, काम भी करती है, सारा कुछ करती है, उसके बाद वो brutally violence भी सहती है to have a forced sex.
सुपिंदर मैम, आप मुझे एक बात बताओ, आप एक बात बताओ, आप जो एग्जिस्टिंग लॉज हैं उनके बारे में हमारे लेजिस्लेचर को क्यों नहीं बताते? 1961 में डाउरी प्रोहिबिशन एक्ट आया था मैम. डाउरी प्रोहिबिशन ऑफिसर्स किस लिए हैं? डाउरी बट मैम लड़कियां भी नहीं करती है ना, लड़कियां भी खुद अपनी एफआईआर में लिखती है कि हमारे माता पिता ने 50 लाख लगाए, 80 लाख लगाए. अरे क्यों लगाए? आपने क्यों लगाने दिए? आप एक अडल्ट वुमन हो.
Every female is not that strong. You may admit this.
Yes,
point.
absolutely.
Again, I'm not blaming the boys. I'm not blaming the men. When it comes to marriage, it is the male side which is always, buttoning the female side. ये आप अपने घरों में भी इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते. कस्टम के नाम पे बड़ी सारी चीजें होती हैं. Here it should be the stand of the boy. It should be the stand of the boy. वो तो खुद बिकने के लिए तैयार हो जाते हैं कि ये IS है, उसकी इतनी बोली लगेगी, फलाना उसकी इतनी बोली लगेगी. Where will the parents of the girl go? They have to.
No मैम, ये तो बहुत ही वन साइडेड बात हो गई सुपिंदर मैम. नहीं, IAS को ढूंढने क्यों जाते हैं लोग? क्योंकि IAS स्टेबल है. IFS ऑफिसर को क्यों करोड़ों में डाउरी देते हैं? क्योंकि पेरेंट्स को ये लगता है कि हमारी मैम वन साइडेड नहीं है डाउरी. मैम वन साइडेड नहीं है डाउरी, 2 साइडेड है.
गिविंग एंड टेक बोथ, दोनों ही पनिशेबल है. दोनों ही पनिशेबल है, गिविंग एंड टेकिंग.
आज तक किसी देने वाले को पनिश होते हुए नहीं देखा मैंने मैम. आज तक कोई देने वाला पनिश नहीं हुआ.
लेने वाले भी बच जाते हैं. कितनी कन्विक्शंस हैं? देयर आर नो मोर कन्विक्शंस. अक्यूज्ड है, अरेस्ट हो गया. अब जो हमारा क्रिमिनल ज्यूरिस्प्रूडेंस कहता है कि अक्यूज्ड इज प्रिज्यूम्ड टू बी इनोसेंट टिल ही प्रूव्स गिल्टी. वो तो कितने कहते हैं हमने किसी इनोसेंट को नहीं हैंग करना. कितने बच जाते हैं? बड़े सारे बच जाते हैं. ये तो जैसे हम कह रहे हैं कि जिनको मिसयूज वही करते हैं जिनको ज्यादा नॉलेज हो जाती है. दूसरी तरफ जो इनोसेंट है वो फंस जाते हैं. इट इज बोथ वेज. It is both ways.
Absolutely. But ma'am, laws, ma'am, it is very important for laws to be scrutinized. Ma'am, आप laws लाते रहो. आपको इंडिया की औरतों को जस्टिस कभी नहीं मिलेगा. आप laws लाते रहो. कितने भी ले आओ, 100 ले आओ.
हम इंडिया की औरतों को एक हाथ से चीज देते हैं, दूसरी हाथ से
मैम जब तक इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ लॉज करेक्ट नहीं होगी, जब तक इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ लॉज करेक्ट नहीं होंगे तब तक कुछ नहीं होगा. निर्भया केस में कोर्ट्स ने बोला मैम, निर्भया के केस में एक केस की वजह से ओवरऑल कर दिया पूरा का लॉ. ठीक है, पूरा का पूरा लॉ ओवरऑल कर दिया. ठीक है, फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट्स बना दी. आज भी उन फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट्स में क्या हो रहा है? 5-5 साल तक केसेस चल रहे हैं. आप कुछ करते हो, उसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को देखते ही नहीं हो. और एक बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो हम लोग डिस्कस करना भूल गए महक, वो ये है कि अब मैं पूरी डेफिनेशन में तो नहीं जाऊंगी, लेकिन 375 की डेफिनेशन को, जो कि अब ये बोल रहे हैं कि इसमें से एक्सेप्शन हटा दो, तो हस्बैंड बेसिकली इज ऑब्वियसली देन कम्स इन द एम्बिट ऑफ ऑल द डेफिनेशंस. There doesn't need to be a penetration anymore. It doesn't have to be a penetrative act anymore, right? इंटॉक्सिकेशन का उसमें एक क्लॉज है. मिसकंसेप्शन ऑफ फैक्ट का उसमें क्लॉज है जिसमें ये रेप ऑन प्रॉमिस ऑफ मैरिज के हजारों केसेस होते हैं. एंड आई शुड गिव यू दिस डेटा दैट इन 2015 21% of the total rape cases in India, reported rape cases in India, were rape on false promise of marriage. By 2020, within 5 years, you know how much they have become? 50% of the total reported rape cases, where if the breakup happens, the woman goes that the consent was given on the promise of marriage. So अगर marital rape आ जाता है और misconception of fact का हम logic वहां पे apply करते हैं, तो फिर तो woman can say कि भैया he had promised me to get me I'm not trivializing, let me say that again, but I'm talking about the fact of the law. If the woman says that he promised me a diamond ring or whatever, and then he said, you know, let's have sex, but then he did not do so, and that becomes rape, then what will you do? There is intoxication. Intoxication में husband wife दोनों intoxicated हो सकते हैं, दोनों they can have sex, and then later if the woman believes that, you know, that day I did not consent, then how will the husband prove that there was a consent? So the definition is so wide that with this definition, and when we talk about other countries, let me also tell you, Mehak, they have segregated and graded. They don't have, a lot of countries do not put it in the ambit of the rape laws that they have. A lot of countries give different kind of punishment. They have much lesser punishments. They call it, most of the countries do not call it marital rape. They call it spousal sexual violence. And the biggest thing that I want to end the debate for today is 99% of these countries understand that consent can be applicable to both the genders. Most of these countries recognize spousal sexual violence as a gender neutral act and not something that is committed only upon women. They have gender neutral otherwise rape laws also, and they have gender neutral spousal sexual violence laws as well. And I would like to share there are a lot of women also who go behind bars in these countries for violating and for having violent forced sex. But India में ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. So when we need to look at an issue, I think we need to look at all the perspectives. And I am absolutely not in denial with all the cases that you're telling me, Supinder ma'am. औरतों के साथ बहुत बुरा होता है और उसमें कोई denial नहीं है. हम लोग हर रोज देखते हैं, आंख मूंद के नहीं रह सकते इस फैक्ट से. और उन जिन औरतों के साथ ये होता है उनको जस्टिस मिलना चाहिए, लेकिन इस एक्सेप्शन को ब्लाइंडली रिमूव करना बहुत बड़ा इनजस्टिस होगा. और किस तरह से ये मैनिफेस्ट होगा सोसाइटी में, वो आने का टाइम हमारे को पता चल जाएगा जब ये एक्सेप्शन हो जाएगा.
Actually, the parameters of consent has to be redetermined. The difference of consent and will has to be made clear. There is difference not only in English but also in legal sense. Consent and will are two different things. And thirdly, in all cases of bigamy, see, the second wife who never comes to know that the first wife is also living. So the second wife who's living with the husband is already married. For that, isn't it marital rape? For so many years.
No, ma'am, that is not marital rape. No, ma'am. No, ma'am, that is not marital rape. Ma'am,
under misconception of a lawful married person.
Ma'am, then आप ये बोलोगे कि एक औरत जो तीन हस्बैंड रखकर बैठी है, किसी को हस्बैंड का पता नहीं है, वो हस्बैंड भी विक्टिम है रेप का. मैम, ये ट्रिवियलाइजेशन है रेप जैसे एक हाइनस क्राइम की. ठीक है मैम, मुझे नहीं लगता कि एक बंदे को ये पता चले कि नो आई थिंक दिस इज नो मैम, रेप इज अ वेरी हाइनस ऑफेंस. इट हैज, इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ट्रॉमा, देन दैट काइंड ऑफ नो मैम, इट्स सेक्सुअल वायलेशन. मैम, इट्स सेक्सुअल वायलेशन. यू कैन नॉट कनेक्ट इट विद मोरालिटी एंड एवरीथिंग. अगर इंसान 2 शादियां कर रहा है जाके, नो,
मोरालिटी एंड लीगलिटी आर टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स. Morality is being immoral is not punishable in any law.
Ma'am, bringing so many ifs and buts into the ambit of rape dilutes this crime. It has already diluted this crime. आप ये बोल रहे हो कि आप 2 साल में एक मैम मिसयूज को छोड़ दो. मैम, मिसयूज को छोड़ दो. आप एक मुझे बात बताओ, 2 साल एक बंदी 200 बार एक बंदे के साथ होटल में जाती है and she has sex with him. And then after 3 years, she files a case saying all those 200 instances were rape because he promised me marriage. What are we even talking, ma'am? No, it is a mockery of real rape victims, ma'am. It is a mockery of real rape victims.
When we are focused on marital rape, then what I want to submit over here humbly, that all these incidences of cases of adultery, bigamy, sexual abuse, sexual offenses, violation without consent are to be taken into account, to either to remove it or to amend it or to make a new law. All things are to be corroborated together. Only then you can expect a refined and a defined law with a proper legal processing of investigation, punishment, etc., etc. ये सारी चीजें डिल्यूट नहीं करी, ये सारी चीजें व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट कल्चरल डिफरेंसेस के बाकी कंट्रियों को अपने साथ हम नहीं क्लब कर सकते एक जैसा, तो ये कल्चरल नॉर्म्स की बात हो रही है. वी हैव टू, लॉ इज फॉर द सोसाइटी लॉ.
आई रियली होप सुपिंदर मैम कि हमारे लॉ मेकर्स आपसे डिस्कशन करें. आई रियली होप कि वो आपके सजेशन लें और उनको ये समझ में आए कि बहुत एग्जॉस्टिव डिस्कशन है. आई होप वो आपसे बात करें कि ये बहुत एग्जॉस्टिव डिस्कशन है. अभी तो वो लोग सिर्फ ये बोल रहे हैं कि हम तो एक्सेप्शन हटाएंगे. अभी तो वो लोग सिर्फ ये बोल रहे हैं हम तो एक्सेप्शन हटाएंगे. अभी तो वो लोग और कुछ नहीं बोल रहे.
नहीं बड़ा कुछ बोल रहे हैं मैम, बड़ी सारी डिस्कशन है.
We are at the end of our time.
Yeah.
I have immense gratitude for both of you coming and putting your perspective. And I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of follow-up on this debate. And I think I might have to pull you people again because I had around 100 comments and I couldn't even entertain one question today. I had around 100 questions.
I know.
I couldn't pick up one because I just couldn't.
Because we couldn't stop discussing.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Really, we really.
So 21 is the next date. 21st is the next date at Delhi High Court. So let's see what happens.
After that,
let's see.
Hear what the court says. And I think one thing is clear: there are victims on both sides. And I think both the parties, whether it's Dr. Supinder or Deepika, want whoever is the victim should get justice, irrespective of the gender.
Absolutely.
I think that is the crux of it. And we need more and more laws, not for men, not for women. Laws are for people who are victims, be it man or a woman, and a victim should get justice in the country. I think that is the main agenda we all are trying to push here, and I think we all align and agree with that.
Absolutely.
We need a fair law.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Nice meeting you. Nice discussing with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Same here, ma'am. Same here, ma'am. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone who joined.
Thank you. And thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening to us so patiently.
Yes. Thank you everybody for your questions.
Thank you.
Questions, and I think I'm going to get them again only to answer the questions and no debate. We just answer questions because I realized that
just answers
and questions cannot be done in one go. I was wrong. I thought I could, but no, I can't do that. So we are going to have another session just to answer your questions, followers, and I'm really apologetic for today not being able to entertain your questions, but we will do that again. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.